Hey everybody, it's Doom here from Dungeons and Doom Biscuit, and I can't get all this in the frame. This is a floor mat from the Dollar Tree, and on one side it's pretty smooth, and on the other side it's got a little bit of texture, and I'm going to use the little bit of texture side. And I want to make a futuristic battle map for my new game I started. So to do that, I'm just going to cut a bunch of pieces of this granny grid. And I'm going to cut some cardstock from like a coffee box or whatever I have laying around. And I'm going to make kind of an interesting different texture all over the place. So to hold stuff in place at first, I'm going to get a little bit of glue to kind of hold stuff down as I'm working. Okay. I might need to cut some more. We'll see as we go here. Okay. Get some of this off my fingers. That makes it hard to work with. Yeah, I might need to cut a little bit more, but it won't be too bad. If you put too much glue and it sticks up through the top, that's okay. We'll come back later with a blowtorch and deal with it then. Then we're just going to add some little weird texture spots with our glue gun and just dragging it around and making weird little shapes. That's just going to add more random weird stuff. Okay. You don't want to go overboard with it. You just want it to look different and garbagey. Now let's get some, looks like this was garlic knots. Let's see how that looks before I cut up more. Everybody's out back swimming in the pool. Everybody but me. I was back here. I'm still wearing my trunks. I gotta get this video knocked out. You don't want anything too 3D going on because it's going to make miniatures not stand nice on it and terrain not stand nice on it. So going as flat as possible is the way to go here. Oh, now it's stuck to my thumb. Oh, good. As I was hoping it would be. All right. Let me see if I can zoom out a little bit. Zooming in. There we go. Nice. Now you can see what I'm doing. A little technology goes a long way, huh? Nice. All right, so I think that should be enough of that kind of stuff for now. Now let's get some baking soda. And do some grime spots. And I'm just going to use a little bit of a homemade spreader here. And a little bit of baking soda on a spoon. And then rinse and repeat and do some grime spots. And I don't want to go overboard with this either. I just want it to be kind of interesting and different. Oops, that was not the spot where I had the baking soda. That's all right. I'm going to do a longer one. Okay. Maybe I'll do one up here. Spread it around and get one more on. Okay. We'll set this off to the side. I'll shake my mat off into the trash. Now, we need to add some more interest here. So I'm going to get my sand. I'm going to just do some little bits of sand. Get my super glue. It should kind of spread out and catch bits of that. All right, I think I got all those spots. All right. I'm going to smush some of these down just a little bit. The ones that seem a little tall, I'm just going to smush them down some. So they don't have such a high profile. Then I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of baking soda on those too. It was 78 degrees when I got home. Now it seems a little cooler. Alright, in my granny grating, I'm just going to get a drop in each one to hold it. Okay. Then I'm going to hit a corner or two on each of my pieces of cardboard. Okay. I'm going to get an old t-shirt. I'm going to make sure there's nothing wet anywhere. And I'm going to shake it off in the garbage again. Sweet. Now I'm going to get my blowtorch. Deal with any bubbles or spider webs. The big sticking up pieces of hot glue, just melt those down. And now I'm just going to put a little bit of extra interest in here. Or not. Okay. Now the next step is going to be to let this cool for a few minutes. And, let me think. I'm going to get a wire brush. And try something. Yeah, there we go. All right. So now let's paint it with some Mod Podge. And some colors. For my first color, I'm going to use this burnt umber. Then I'm going to get my brush wet. And I mean wet. more water on the brush there. And no, this does not need to be all the same exact shade. As a matter of fact, it's probably better if it isn't. Okay. We have a pretty good even coating everywhere. Now, let's set that brush down. Let's get a metallic. So I'm going to get like a copper color. This color is called antique copper. All right. Then I'm going to get a gold color. This color is called Inca Gold. I'll put some down here too. All right, let's set that down. And now I'm going to get a gray color. I'm looking for something wet. Here's some elephant gray, and there's not much of it left. All right, let's set this brush off to the side yet again. And the last thing we want to do is add some little random colors that are going to make it a little creative in just the tiniest method. So we're just going to put a couple drops of red there, orange I should say. Red. Blue, green, and yellow. And we're just gonna mix that around to make it not so obnoxious. Then I wipe my brush out in a rag. Do the same thing with the orange and the red and the yellow. And last but not least, the green. Now I need more of that orange, it looks like, so I'm going to grab a little bit more of that. Okay, now let's get rid of that rag. And let's make a wash. First, let's hit this with a little hot air and see how it looks. It's not going to dry quick. Actually, wait. Before we do that, put a very thin coat of sand. And some of this will stick and some of this will come off. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be everywhere. I'm going to pull this up, grab it by the sides, dump it in my trash, come back. Then we'll hit this with the air gun in a couple spots. Okay. Then you're going to get your black wash there, and I'm just going to grab something to make a wash. Maybe. Looks like a brown wash right now with my water. Something like that would work fine. That's dark enough. Where did I dry stuff off at? Over in this way some. Then you're going to want to make your greasy pools and puddles. And then let that kind of dry. Let all of it dry. Okay, sweet. All right. Now, I would recommend when you are all completely done, let this dry for several hours, and then come back, dry brush the granny grating, some of the edges of some of the little panels, stuff like that. You can get extra fancy. So, for example, let me get in my drawer here. You could put rivets on some of this. The reason I would say you don't want to put rivets, though, is because they stand up pretty tall and they might make weird spots where stuff doesn't sit down nice. But you can do it. And a spot here and there if you wish. And to make those sure those don't come off, you'd probably want to put a dab of super on there. But when you're doing your dry brushing portion, I would probably guess that those would be noticeable and good. Okay? But again, you're going to want to put a dab of glue on those so they stay. If you have a cheapy brush like this that you could use to distribute that glue around, that would probably help your cause. Just like that. All right. Well, that's all I got for you today. I'm going to let this dry. Then I'm going to do some silver dry brushing on some of those parts like we talked about. This gives me a different colored kind of futuristic, gross battlefield area to use. I can use this for backdropping some towns or out where they're scavenging, things like that. There's a lot of ways I can use this thing. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. Please like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell icon. Maybe even think about leaving some comments, which would be amazing. What else? Oh, check out the website and the Discord. Those will be in the description, as well as a discount code that'll save you 25% off your first month of Dungeon Swag Miniatures. I'd love to see you there and join our ranks of the people who love getting minis in the mail for a low price every month. And while we're here, let me show you quickly some of the miniatures I've done. I painted 7 miniatures in about an hour yesterday, so they're not pristine, but these are just hero clicks that I either cut up or just colored as was. This one was just how he was. This was a Punisher that I modified a little bit by adding a chunky arm. This was like some weird dude that I just made into like a law enforcement guy. Here's another dude I just made into like some kind of law enforcement guy. Here's a street thug. Here's a gentleman with blue hair. I don't like the way that guy looked. Oh, I didn't do his little glasses. And then here's some kind of like SWAT dude that I made into like I don't know, like a guy that comes out and kills you. So anyways, just more stuff for this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.